Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Boardmasters with me, Chris Mellins, and today we will be looking at the final part, for the meantime, of my Kickstarter backlog, although following ISS Vanguard's campaign on GameFound, I suppose I should change the name to the crowdfunding backlog. You may notice in the background that I am filming this in bed because I am still feeling incredibly rough. I think it might be long COVID, but who knows at this point. We'll cross that bridge if and when we come to it. So I hope you'll forgive me for the poor lighting and things that I have in the bedroom. This isn't my usual setup. But with that being said, let's dive in. And the first thing I want to cover is an update on a game that I mentioned, I think, way back in part 1 of this. Massive Darkness 2, which is one that I actually cancelled in the Pledge Manager. I'm not going to go into it in too much depth in this video, but if you want the short answer for why I did, basically is the VAT controversy. I am planning to do a video where I go into a bit more depth in terms of my feelings and sort of my relationship with the game throughout the actual Kickstarter campaign, and then going into the Pledge Manager and the VAT issue. So please keep an eye on the channel if you want to check that out. But moving on from there, the games I have got coming. So, Tainted Grail, another one from Awaken Rounds, which if you followed my content you will know I have become a big fan of very quickly. I think I backed 5 of their games, or bought 5 of their games. So I've got this one, Etherfields, ISS Vanguard, Great Wall, and This War of Mine. Obviously I missed the campaign on this one because I had no idea about board games as a hobby and anything when this Kickstarter campaign was going on. But I managed to grab a order from Zatu here in the UK. It's probably my go-to board game shop, and I'm hoping that's going to arrive in the next month. And I'm thinking this might well be the next sort of campaign game that I play after I finish with either Seventh Continent or Lord of the Rings. I'm probably lucky in a way that I did miss the campaign and the Pledge Manager and everything, because I absolutely would have gone all in on this with, these minis, as ever with Awaken Realms, are absolutely gorgeous. I'm sure I would have gone sun-dropped and everything, but from what I understand, the minis don't really have a big part to play in the game. They're not, but look at those. I'm gutted that I won't be going them. I may try and track them down at a later date. But as it stands, I've got the core game coming, and as I said, hopefully by the end of the month. I know there's been a delay with good old Brexit and everything in terms of UK backers being hit with a bill from delivery companies when the game arrives at the door. Awaken Realms have said to refuse payment and they'll sort that out, but I'm hoping I can avoid a lot of that hassle because I've bought from a third party, so it's going to be Zatu that's going to be dealing with that. But I'm so excited for this. This War of Mine is the game I've played from Awaken Realms so far, and I was really nervous going into that given how much the promise of Awaken Realm games appeals to me so far, that playing the first one I would hate it and it would just destroy my enthusiasm for all of their games. But thankfully I loved it as much as I thought I would, and so now I am super excited to get that one. So moving on to the next one, we have got Red Outpost by Imperial Publishing, and this one isn't really one that I backed as such. I backed the Sleeve Kings Season 3 campaign, and as part of the Pledge Manager they offered a copy of Red Outpost for $20, which, well, as you can see, is sort of cheaper than the standard version was in the campaign. So I threw that in. I don't really know much about it. I know it's I think it's a worker placement where you're a top secret Soviet space mission, and you've got a Marxist utopia where you're managing your workers and you're managing their emotions and trying to give them jobs they're best suited for and keeps them happy. So you got your shepherd, your farmer, your fisherman, etc. and you all work together to hopefully get this settlement up and running. And yeah, again, don't know much about the game beyond that, but it's one I am looking forward to. Now the next one, Core Space Firstborn by Battle Systems Limited. This is one during the actual campaign I managed to resist because it was on originally in November. November was an enormous month, back far too much. Got another one coming up that snuck onto the end of November, but this one is just gorgeous. I mean, look at this. This is just stunning. I've got nothing in my collection that's anything like this, with this pop-up terrain and everything. And I mean, I am so excited to get that on the table and just see how it looks. And of course, Naomi, I went all in because, well, the price was very reasonable for the amount of context you're getting. So £189 for everything you get in the all-in. Here we go. So I mean, look at this. You get all of these extras, and I'm just so excited to get this scenery and everything on the table. And I know the first game is very well rated. I might try and get that further down the line. But I mean, yeah, that's just going to look incredible on the table. And whilst I managed to resist the actual campaign, the Pledge Manager broke me completely. So I'm definitely going to be featuring that on the channel when that arrives, because it's going to look stunning. And the other one in November that I broke on is Bardsung by Steamforged Games. And it's a game that I had very little interest in for the majority of the campaign. I kept an eye on it. It didn't really appeal to me. I mean, at that point, I did have Massive Darkness 2 backed as a dungeon crawler and didn't really feel like I needed another one. And it just didn't appeal to me until I watched Board Game Co.'s video where they interviewed the people from Steamforged Games, and they really doubled down on the narrative aspect of Bardsung and how that makes it different from most dungeon crawlers, and I really loved it. I mean, everything they said appealed to me. They've got Ian Livingstone playing a big part in the game, and his fighting fantasy books I've mentioned a few times on the channel. I absolutely adored those when I was a kid, still got a number of them now, and he's taken an active part in constructing the narrative of Bardsung, which has got me sold straight away. And they've got lots of guest writers and everything doing exciting scenarios. And again, I think the page, well, like this, just sort of didn't really double down on how much impact some of these people like Ian Livingstone were going to have on the actual game. It just sort of sounded like a one and done scenario, as opposed to the overall sort of campaign structure. Like Rhianna Pratchett, just says she's a guest writer there, but again, I think she's a guest writer for the overall campaign, not just for a one and done scenario, from what I understand from that video. So I was absolutely sold straight away as soon as I saw that, and straight in on this. And I cannot wait for it. Again, gorgeous game trays insert. I'm just really intrigued by the narrative aspect. And if the game narrative is as fun as the updates in the campaign were, then it's going to be a very fun campaign and something that I'm going to really enjoy. Moving on from there, we are into my 2021 games, and hopefully they're going to start slowing down a bit, but Primal The Awakening by Reggie Games. I believe this one was actually a campaign towards the end of last year, but I think they cancelled it and relaunched, because I remember seeing it in September, October time, and again, it didn't appeal to me. I mean, look at that mini. Wow. Mini in the loosest possible terms. But the more again, yeah, I'm sure it was in last year, and it just didn't appeal to me at all. But then when they relaunched in January, it just gets more and more exciting to me. It's, I mean, again, gorgeous, gorgeous minis. I love playing as an archer in role-playing games, particularly like in Oblivion and games like that on video games. I always seem to go for archers, so I'll probably be diving straight in with that. But just the fact that each one is a scenario-specific monster-driven battle with... I love the designs, the artwork. I mean, he's just bizarre. Again, these are just absolutely gorgeous, and the way they sit in the centre of the table, I think is going to have a really good table presence. I mean, fighting a giant crab guy. I mean, there's a lot of dragon types, but like stag beetle type. And it's very card driven, which is really interesting. Again, I've watched a lot of Board Game Co's videos on it, and it looks really different and unique in terms of how you actually interact with the character and with the boss and how they react to what you're doing and the terrains and everything. And they seem to really listen and give the fans what they wanted in the campaign. I know there was a lot of grief they got initially because it was a hugely successful campaign. I think it hit 1 million within a few hours and basically blew out all of the Reggie Games expectations. And they went with the daily unlock stretch goals as opposed to the monetary ones. So I think they hit well over 1 million in the first day, and then their first daily unlock was a few extra cards, and people were not happy. But over the course of the campaign, I think they turned that momentum around, and I think everyone felt a lot more positive. Of course, once again, I've gone all in. Again, these extra characters look great. Not sure I like the, I don't know, heavy gun in this sort of with where everyone else is sort of archers and blades and whatnot. Maybe doesn't sit particularly well with me. It may be a character I avoid, but who knows, maybe really fun to play. That's just me being a bit stubborn. Again, I mean, that is gorgeous. I can't wait to get that down. Like Chinese style dragon. And then we got this giant slug-like guy. Slug snake. I mean, he looks amazing. Again, I like this guy with sort of all this beautiful fur. It's just, yeah, completely won me over. I don't know if I've going to go everything primal or gameplay all in. I think I've gone everything because they've got 3D terrain and things that I wanted, and the lore and everything in the Tame of Creatures was something that was really exciting for me. But again, I think that's going to look amazing when that hits. Sometime next year. I think Bardsung and Primal are both first half of 2022. And then we get into the campaigns that are live at the moment. By the time this video goes up, that'll be Thursday, so I think there'll be about 24 hours left on this. And this one is just adorable, I think. So we've got Core Quest, which is a game that a father-daughter team in Huddersfield, England came up with. He designed it during lockdown last year, where I think they were getting a bit sick of the whole home learning thing, and basically came up with this dungeon crawling board game for kids that they designed to sort of replace the school learning, and he snuck in the maths and everything to help with that. And it's just an adorable story, and it looks like a really fun game. It's been really well received from a lot of content creators that I've seen. Again, Board Game Co, I've mentioned a few times already, is someone whose opinion I really respect, and the fact that he is guest writing a quest in this has got me really excited. But I love the artwork, it's adorable, this sort of children's style, and I know throughout the campaign they asked for kids to contribute drawings and things to get added to the game, and I really love that aspect. And again, it's a game that I certainly in the last couple of months I bought a bunch of games specifically to play with my son Alex, who's 7, and we've absolutely loved playing games together, and this is just another one that there was no way I could resist buying this so that I have a dungeon crawler that I could play with Alex, and I'm so thankful this game exists. I cannot wait to play this with Alex, and that will be on the channel because he's started to enjoy playing games on video as well, so there should be a few games coming up in the near future starring him. And the last one, again, there will be a couple of hours left on this by the time this goes live. I think this finishes, I usually upload around 4 o'clock each day, and this is going to finish at 4, so it might have just ended by the time I upload. So I may upload a bit earlier tomorrow, just so that there's a few hours left. But it's Castles of Mad King Ludwig, the Collector's Edition from Bezier Games. And, I mean, again, more stunning inserts. The artwork on this is gorgeous. It's a tile-laying game, which we, as a family, have got really interested. We played a lot of Baron Park and things recently, so polyamino and tile-laying really appeals to us at the moment. And I will be going in at the Royal upgrade, so we get these metal coins and swan tokens and things. They're doing a colossal one where they basically giant size the game, which is really tempting. I mean, I spoke to them on Instagram and they said for a 4-player game you need like 2 banquet sized tables to play it with the colossal style, which is just not something I will ever be able to get to the table. I mean, you can see the size difference there. But even though I'll never get it to the table, it probably says a lot about how ridiculous I am with my spending and how weak I am, that I'm still really tempted to go colossal, even though I know I will never get it to the table just because of how gorgeous it looks. But at the moment, at least, I'm sticking with Royal to get these beautiful towers and swans and all these extra components. And I think it's just a beautiful game that looks like it'd be a lot of fun and a good fit for the family. But as of now, that is everything I've got coming up in terms of crowdfunding. There is a bunch of games that I have bought that will be in a separate video in terms of the games I bought to replace Massive Darkness 2. So that is going to be coming up. I'm still waiting on a few of them to be delivered, which is why I haven't filmed that one yet. But that'll be sort of a mini-series where I talk about why I cancelled Massive Darkness, the games I bought to replace it, and then sort of a conversational piece where I sort of talk about have I gone about this all wrong, because I've jumped into this hobby via Kickstarter and these hugely expensive, gorgeous, all-in pledges, and I've sort of come to realise that obviously I could be buying a lot of games for the same price at retail rather than going all in on these big fancy ones. And, you know, will I ever get time and stuff to go through all these, the sort of extra expansion packs we got in Core Space and Primal and things, or whether I'd be better off just getting the core games when they hit retail at a cheaper price down the road. But that's a little sneak preview into what I'll be talking about on the channel further down the line. But I hope you enjoyed this Kickstarter series, and again, if there's any games in particular that you're really excited by, that you really want to see on the channel, then comment down below and let me know. There will be timestamps on this, and I will leave it there, and I hope to see you all again soon, and look after yourselves, stay safe, and I hope you have a good one. Bye bye now.